Tony Perkins came to the Family Research Council as president with a proven track record of connecting pastors with public policy and church with government. As a state legislator in Louisiana and author of the nation's first covenant marriage law, Tony noticed that there were many pro-abortion and anti-family groups lobbying the legislators, but there were very few people of faith pleading for biblical morality. Tony became determined to change that. He began inviting pastors to the Capitol for a briefing on legislation and a meeting with lawmakers. When Tony came to lead FRC, he believed God wanted him to do on the national level what he'd already accomplished on the state level. So in 2004, Tony launched a unique outreach to pastors, Watchmen on the Wall. Watchmen on the Wall is based on Isaiah 62:6. We challenge and equip pastors to assume the biblical role of a watchman. Watch what is going on in the culture. Pray for the wisdom to engage biblically, courageously, and winsomely. Sound the alarm from the pulpit and take a bold stamp with others to defend and advance faith, family, and freedom. We began in 2004 with 1,200 pastors in our broader network. Today, we have nearly 22,000. But Tony's vision is for these pastors to make a definite commitment and become a tipping point in our nation. To do that, Tony wants 40,000 Watchmen on the Wall pastors nationwide by 2015.
This nation owes an incredible debt of gratitude to Tony Perkins and the Family Research Council. Let me put it bluntly, Tony gets it. He gets it. And by gets it, I mean he understands that the proclamation of the truth of God's Word is not to be limited to the four walls of a church. That pastors not only have a right, they have a biblical obligation to speak the truth of God to our culture.
Politicians are not going to save America. Therefore, if America is going to be saved, it's going to have to be done by a spiritual revival, and that comes only from the leadership of the church and the pulpits.
You don't need a lot of salt to change the flavor of a whole plate of food, and you only need one candle to light up a room. We don't have to have the majority. All we have to have is the truth and people who will stand up and speak it.
It's righteousness that exalts a nation. It's not good economic policy that exalts a nation. I mean, if you want the nation, if you pursue economics, you'll lose economics and righteousness. Both things will go away. In many ways, I think the role of the church today has been defined by the secular world. They say, now you guys, we don't want you doing this. You stay over here. And so we have so narrowed the influence of the church down to a little bitty 2-foot square box right behind the pulpit. And we even tell the preacher what he can say when he's in that 2-foot square. Now, don't get out of that box. We don't want you to influence education or law or government or culture or media. Stay in that box. And by the way, while you're there, here's the things you can't talk about while you're there. That's a new thing in America's history. It's a new thing in biblical history. All the way through the scriptures, God's ministers always spoke loud and clear in every arena.
Jesus Christ is the King of Kings, the Lord of Lords. The President of the United States answers to Him ultimately, and we're His ambassadors. This concept of the watchman on the wall from Isaiah 62 and Ezekiel 33 is talking about how those of us who know what God is doing and what the enemy is doing have a responsibility to teach, to communicate, to mobilize people to get involved as God leads. We may not be able to stop the evil that's coming, but we bear a great responsibility to let people know and tell them the truth scripturally.
If the people of God in this country will bend the knee and then stand up, I believe with all my heart, this nation will right itself and we will see a boundless American future in the 21st century built on the foundation upon which this nation was created. Every great movement in this country has always, in the history of America, has always begun at the pulpits. And whether it be the defense of marriage, whether it be restoring the sanctity of life and the rule of law, whether it be just returning our nation to the traditional values of fiscal responsibility and personal responsibility, when the church steps into the gap and begins to lead the nation on a moral basis back to those timeless values, that's when America will be renewed.
We appreciate your prayerful consideration. Would you partner with us to reach 40,000 pastors nationwide? Pastors who understand the times in which we live. 40,000 pastors who are praying, preaching, and partnering as part of our Watchmen on the Wall network. With your support, we can reach our goal, and these Watchmen pastors will help transform America.